So here's how you make salad dressing. You take oil, you take vinegar. This happens to be balsamic vinegar. And you put 1 part vinegar into a jar and you put 2 parts oil in on top. I'm just guesstimating. And a little pinch of salt. And you shake it. And that's salad dressing. So obviously this is the most basic version, and I'm going to show you some more interesting ones, but fundamentally that salad dressing will get you pretty much anywhere you need to go. You can dress your everyday stuff with that. So this one isn't emulsified. This one is just oil and vinegar, and the only reason it's holding together is because we shook it up. When you put something in it, like an emulsifier, like an egg yolk or Dijon mustard, it'll hold together. So if you want that, I'll show you how to make that. This time I'm going to grab a whisk, and I'm using a bowl, and this is because we need to mix things slowly. We need to add the oil in slowly and whisk as we go. So the rules of salad dressing are the same. For me anyways, it's always 1 part acid, 2 parts oil. I used to do 1 to 3, but it's just too oily. And then on top of that is your extras. So for me, that's always salt, always a pinch of salt at least. Sometimes honey. If you're using a vinegar or an acid that's really sharp, like apple cider vinegar, for example, you might want to use a bit of honey because it helps soften it. Balsamic vinegar is naturally sweet, so I don't tend to use honey with it. So I've got about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard in the bowl, and I've made this little cradle for the bowl so that it doesn't move around. And I'm going to throw in my 1 part vinegar and just whisk that up. And then as I'm whisking, I'm just going to slowly add olive oil in like a nice little steady stream. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's quite creamy. Like, it's got a nice kind of thickness to it, and it's got this kind of creamy texture. So I think that was about 1 to 2. I got my ratios right. And if you're not sure, you just taste it. This one tastes pretty vinegary still, so I'm going to add a bit more oil. And it gets thicker and thicker the more oil you add. Like now it's like, this is like thick. Like if I dip some of this lettuce into that, it really kind of clings to the leaf. That's really thick. Compare that to this stuff, which is pretty watery. It'll just kind of drip right off. So they're both good. They're both great. The choice is yours. You can do both versions with any kind of vinegar or lemon or whatever you want. Red wine vinegar, apple cider. That's salad dressing. It's very simple. Okay, so next up on the salad dressing train is my new favorite tahini ranch dressing. So this one's a little bit different. We're still following the general guidelines of like 2 parts, oily base to 1 part cider vinegar or like any acid. But it's just a little bit more of a twist. So to start things off, I'm going to put 125 mils, which is pretty close to 125 grams. It's basically half a cup of tahini into a measuring cup. Yeah, that's about right. And this one's cool because you can do the whole thing in the measuring jug. And 2 tablespoons of oil. This is optional, but I just really like, I don't know, I feel like it kind of makes, like tahini's quite pasty, and I think a little bit of oil helps make it a bit more like silky. So that's just me. The juice of 1 lemon, which I don't have a lemon. I went shopping today to get all this stuff and I forgot that I needed a lemon. So we're going to do it with a lime, but you can just pretend this is a lemon if you don't mind. And this one, I'm not gonna worry about emulsifying because it'll just come together. The tahini is like pretty much a powerhouse in its ability to bring things together. So that was a good juicy lime. Now for the pantry staple spices. So we're using some garlic powder. These are the ingredients that make it taste really ranchy because, like, you know, when you buy store-bought ranch dressing, it's like got that serious garlic powder, onion powder, like concentrated flavor. So I'm doing half a teaspoon of garlic powder. My mom always used garlic and onion powder, so I always think of her when I'm using it. 3/4 of a teaspoon, so basically a heaped half teaspoon measure of onion powder. A teaspoon of dried dill, and I always crush dried herbs in my fingers before throwing them in, mostly just to make my fingers smell good. Rosemary, if I ever see fresh rosemary just out and about on my walks, I always like to rub some of that on my hands. Highly recommend it. A little bit of a fresh ingredient here is a green onion, which I like those little bits of green in ranch dressing because I feel like they just belong there. I don't know. Look at what's in this. It does not look like it's gonna come together and be anything remotely ranchy, but it is. I promise. I guess you guys probably, or if you've seen my show before, you probably think I'm a little bit obsessed with tahini and probably dill and probably fennel. I feel like those are things I cook with a lot. And you'd be right. I guess I am a bit obsessed. And then I'm putting about a teaspoon-ish, like a pinch of fresh parsley in. Again, more of that green action. And then a teaspoon of salt. Very important. And then all that's left is some water. So this is gonna be like, this is a big hot mess right now, and it'll never look like it's supposed to. It looks like brown and goopy, but you just wait till I add the water. And for the water, it kind of depends on how thick you want this to be. If you want to use it as a dip, you might add a bit less, but I have 50 mils down in the recipe, which I'm just gonna eyeball because I'm me. I just eyeball everything. So it's pretty cool what this water does. It starts to just make everything like paler in color and really creamy, and it almost gets a bit thicker first. It's kind of weird the way that water reacts with the tahini. It's like super thick now. So I'm gonna keep adding. And it's like this pale, starting to look like ranch dressing. It's so good. And this will keep in the fridge for probably a couple weeks, no problem. So that's pretty good. That to me is like thick and like dippable. If I was to dress a salad with it, I might thin it out a bit more, but to be honest, I feel like this is really the best for like hearty, crunchy veggies, like using as a dip. One of my favorite ways to have it is as a dip for roasted slices of squash. It's so nice. So I'm just gonna dip a radish in and give it a taste. Very punchy. I'm gonna double dip my radish. This is so good. Oh, and it's better the next day. So if you can make it the day ahead, that's great. If you can wait half an hour, that's even fine. It just needs a chance for everything to kind of get good. All right, so the last one I'm gonna show you today is a non-oil option. So just to show that the whole 2-to-1 ratio thing, it can be oil, it could also be mayonnaise if you want a creamy one. It can be the tahini and water combination that we used in the tahini ranch, or it could be yogurt. So this is a really good like low-cal option. I've got my homemade yogurt, which I'm a pretty big fan of. And actually, I'm not even gonna mix it. This is like home cooking, right? We wanna use like fewer dishes and all that kind of stuff. So I've got about that much yogurt left in this jar, which is kind of an annoying amount of yogurt. Like I'm gonna pour that into a bowl and it's not gonna equate to very much. So I'll just turn it into a quick salad dressing right here in the jar. So I have a little bit of parsley left over. I'll throw that in. I'll throw in my pinch of salt, which yogurt will definitely want. It'll be good with that. And I'll throw in some cider vinegar. About, half the amount of yogurt that I have of cider vinegar. And what else? Let's do some more dried dill. I also love using fresh dill, and actually dill is one of those things that is really good when you chop it, a whole bunch of it, and keep it in the freezer, and then you have fresh dill on hand all the time. But right now I'm just using dried, and I'm gonna use quite a bit. Yogurt, dill, delicious. If I had lemon, that would be good in here too. And then I'm just gonna give it a shake. Or am I gonna add some garlic? I'm gonna add some garlic. Obviously I'm just making this up as I go. Like a small clove. Garlic's one of those things that if you put a whole clove in, like by tomorrow it's gonna be pretty strong. Get it in there. All right, and then I'm gonna give it a shake. So this yogurt dressing is really gonna be good on actually drizzled on rice. If you have any roast chicken, rice, that kind of thing, this is a delicious sauce to pour over that. It's pretty good. I'm gonna put some stuff on some stuff here. It's pretty saucy. I mean, this is with yogurt. If you wanted it thicker, you could put a combination of yogurt and mayo. That's pretty good. And I think I'll just taste it with this leaf here. This is good. If you want a little help with your salad dressing, I have made a downloadable PDF guide that's basically like a salad dressing cheat sheet, and it kind of walks you through all the different combinations of things you can mix together to make really good salad dressings. So if you're not making your own salad dressing, I encourage you to download that guide and give it a go. Okay, so that's it for Salad Dressing 101. If you like this episode, I'd love it if you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm always happy to have more people joining me. And I hope you make all these salad dressings, especially this tahini ranch. It's my favorite. Not to play favorites, but I'm playing favorites a little bit.